Good morning, everyone. So we will be getting started with today's webinar, D3M webinar on rack diagrams. Thank you to all who have joined. Again, at the end of this webinar, it is being recorded, so we'll send you all a recording of it, whether you want to rewatch it or share it with your colleagues. You'll have it there. So I'm guessing most of you are familiar with D3M. So if you see the page that we're on right now, what you can see is we're in a D3M project. So this is a project that I've already created, and I've done up a little diagram here. It's just something very basic, but it'll allow us to show how the functionality of a rack diagram works. So here you can see a diagram with a simple switch, 2 repeaters, 2 duplexers, and some radios. This is a group of radios that's about 100 radios. So this could be all of the workers on a floor of a manufacturing plant, etc. That just represents that we have more than one radio. This one accounts for 100 radios. So in D3M, once you've created your topology, you can hop into rack or you can start in rack. It's completely your choice. Everything in D3M syncs back and forth, so you have the ability to start anywhere you wish. So let's get over to the rack diagrams. So as soon as you get to the rack diagrams, the first thing you'll notice is right over here is our sync tool. What our sync tool is it's showing you all of the devices that you used in the topology view. So it's D3M's way of making sure that you account for everything you account for everything to be put into the rack, or ignoring items that shouldn't be in the rack. As you can see here, a few items have already been ignored. So let me just unignore this so I can show you guys how it works. So this is what it would normally look like when you jump over from topology. When you jump over, the first thing you'll see is all of the devices I mentioned that are used in the topology view. So the first thing we'll want to do is add a rack. Now our racks come set at 42U, but you have the ability to adjust it to higher, lower, whatever it is, depending on your actual rack that you're physically going to be using on the deployment site. Now, once you have your rack, one thing you'll notice is, just like for all the devices, if you double click a rack, the rack properties come up. So this is where you can actually add a quote part for the rack if you're supplying it for the customer. You can add in things like rack type, mounting type, other properties that might be missing. You can remove properties, you can change the name. It functions just like the editor for the properties within your devices. Another thing is, so now that we've got all of our devices here that have been used in our topology, we now want to rack the devices that are actually rackable. So we'll start, we'll rack the repeaters. This says 3U, but say it's a 2U repeater. You can adjust that. You can adjust it to be as big or as small as it will be on the actual deployment site itself. So again, we'll pull out these things, move them to wherever they may be situated on the actual rack. You want to use this as much of an exact replication of what the real thing will be like. It'll help with deployments. It'll help with troubleshooting down the road. It'll be a very valuable asset to you. Throw the duplexer here. All right, now one thing we do know is that not all items are going to be rackable. So say these 100 radios, they're going to actually be in the hands of the employees. So you are not going to be putting those on the rack. So D3M's accounted for that. You simply select the icon that you wish to ignore, and it's not going to delete it from anything. It's just going to tell D3M, hey, I know this is in my topology, but it's not something I need on my rack, so don't worry about it. So you simply select it, click ignore icon, and it'll go in this little area that says icons ignored. So that just means that this icon is not something you want to rack, but it is something you have accounted for. Now the next tool that is really interesting and I find very valuable in our rack diagrams here is called the rack container tool. So if you simply click on this and select anywhere in the rack, you'll see this little container shows up. You can make it as big as you want, stretch it out. And what it is it's basically, I like to call it a flexible space. So as soon as you drop an icon into here, you can move it around however you want. You can shrink it, you can spin it on its side. However you see it will fit in the actual rack. We know that not all things are going to be racked completely vertically and nice horizontally and look perfect. We know that sometimes you're going to have to turn a computer on its side, throw a desktop in there, have a radio sitting on something. So this tool actually allows you to manipulate things exactly how you would see them. So you can move them around, sit them on top of each other, turn them on their sides. You have all that flexibility there. Another cool feature of the rack container tool is if we select down here and say we know that these 18 U's are already used by our customer, whether it's from a deployment we did before or from items they just have themselves. Instead of selecting multiple items, which is the flexible space, simply click reserved. And if you see here, it says these 18 U's are reserved space. And if you try to move an icon into here, D3M won't let you. So this is a great way to actually understand how much usable space you have in the rack before you go and deploy something. So when it comes to the rack diagrams, you can do multiple things with them. You can use this as a tool for your engineers going on site to deploy things. You can use it when you troubleshoot. So if a customer comes to you and says, this isn't working, what do I do? You can look back and see how the rack looks now versus if it's changed at all on the customer site. So this is a great tool to have and just a great visual representation of the physical deployment. The last thing you'd want to do is be able to share this either with your customer or with that technician. So if you want to share it with a technician, you can simply use Collaborate. So here is a new feature we have. You can actually share this with anyone, regardless of if they have a D3M account. The only thing is it's going to be a read only, which means they cannot, that person can't make any changes or edits or anything, but they'll see your D3M project the same as you. They just can't make an edit. However, if they have a D3M account, it's someone in your organization, simply put their email address in here and you can select the share you would like to give them, whether it's they can only view, they can edit and share, or if you want to transfer ownership. Then you simply click the share button and they'll get an email letting you know you shared it with them. Now, say you want to share this with the customer or simply print it out to give to your technician, no problem. Simply click Documents. We'll create a new document and we'll actually start in a blank document here. So if we just want to get just the rack, we can click Create and simply select Insert Rack, drag it over, and the rack is popped here into place. You can move things around however you want, zoom in. You can add text on top by, again, simply dragging. So if you want to add, a title, customer name, etc. You can add all that here, and you can also, from here, now save it as whether you want to save it as a PDF, so you can, print it out or email it to somebody. So you simply click Export and Share, and then you can export, like I said, as a PDF. You can send it as a share link. If you send it as a share link, they'll only be able to see the document, which is nice if you want to send it to a customer. They can't access any of your other tabs. They can simply see what's in this document and they cannot make any changes. Same thing if you shared via email. It's the same idea as this, except you enter their email address, click share, and it will automatically send them an email letting them know you shared a project with them. So that is sort of the wrap up of rack diagrams. Thank you all and have a great day.